Hello and welcome or welcome back. My name is V and today I kind of want to watch a video that's been lingering on my timeline for about 5 or 6 days, and it's looking like my YouTube algorithm really knows me. So this video is why I play WoW alone, the solo experience, and you can find it on Angelica Tosh's channel. She made a video and I immediately, from just the title and the thumbnail, I felt really drawn to watching it because that's pretty much been my experience with playing World of Warcraft for a very long time now. I did start playing WoW with my now ex-husband, and for a time we did used to raid together, go through the story together and whatnot. But as I continued to play WoW on and off, apart from playing WoW with my current partner, which we sometimes do, and when we do play it, we go through the vanilla World of Warcraft and essentially work our way up. Apart from that, though, I'm mostly alone in the new content, and a part of it is probably trauma from raiding with my previous guild and not wanting to be a part of that anymore. But a part of it is just me playing WoW on my own terms when I have the time and actually really enjoying it. So I'm really curious about this video and I want to hear about her experience, maybe relate to it a little bit and give my 2 cents on why I play WoW alone as well. If you happen to be new here on the channel, make sure to subscribe, leave a like on the video, and let me know in the comments if you do play WoW, how you play it. Do you have a guild you raid with or do other activities with, or are you just a WoW loner like a lot of us as well? Alright, let's watch.
You know when you're a kid and you go to school and you have all these friends that have the same interests as you? You go home after school with the excitement that you'll get to meet all your friends in this other world by logging into your favorite game and playing together for hours on end until your mom yells at you to go to bed. Or maybe the people in your school don't play games with you, but you're such a social kid and you seem to fit in wherever you go. You find it easy to fit in with groups of people online who you can share games with. But as the years go on and you get older, you start to notice that the people that you regularly hang out with in-game are not coming online as regularly as you are. Maybe they're playing while you're busy, or some eventually log out for the last time without warning and are never seen again. You lose touch with these people because as your life gets busier, you don't really have time to reply to the Skype message that's been sitting in your notification for weeks, and when Skype eventually became outdated, not everybody knew that you moved on to Discord or...
Okay, first of all, this is a little bit embarrassing. The fact that Skype is still a part of my, current job and is heavily integrated into what I do is really making me feel like a boomer. But apart from that, I actually had a really interesting conversation with my partner about this specifically, and we talked about whether or not we feel like MMOs are dying in general. And one of the points that I tried to make was the fact that MMOs or MMORPGs are not as popular as they used to be is because the generation that grew up with MMORPGs now has all these commitments. And I feel like in the past 15 years, the world has gotten so much faster and so much busier that it's just ridiculously difficult to find a time to log in when your other 7 or 8 or 20 friends are logging in and do an activity together. Sacrifices have to be made. There's all these responsibilities like work and children and partners and this and that is just really, really difficult. But a similar thing kind of happened to me in Final Fantasy XIV as I started playing FF14 when the game was super active and lively, and we had an actual FC with people who would log in regularly. And nowadays, I'm pretty much the only person who logs in, mostly because I still make Final Fantasy XIV content. And some people have been gone from the game for about 2 or 3 or more years. And that is painful to watch. And I feel like it's even worse in World of Warcraft, that's been around for 20 years now. When you look at your friends list and see that some person was last online 17 years ago, it's kind of sad. It makes you wonder whether they're okay, whether they're alive, whether they're still playing games or maybe playing something else. And it's just difficult seeing someone not log in for a very long time. In a way, in an online world, feels like they are deceased, and it's just a very difficult thing to process in the modern world, I think, especially when you make a friend online who you actually care about.
Other socials to stay in contact with you. Maybe you stop checking messages there too. Your life getting busier doesn't necessarily mean that you stop liking the hobbies and things that you loved as a kid. So what happens if you still want to play World of Warcraft, but all your friends are gone and you're not somebody who can easily fit in and make friends online anymore? What if you can't keep up with guilds and other players? Do you get to enjoy the game at all? Is World of Warcraft just done for you at this stage? Today we're going to talk about World of Warcraft as a solo experience. What is it like to play the game without friends or other people in general? Before we get started, hi, my name is Angelica, and I actually do have friends. They're all here. You know, when this exact scenario happened to me, and I realized that I was all alone in Azeroth, I was kind of sad about it. It sucks not to be able to share this world with other people, especially if that's all you've known. Now, when I first started playing WoW, I was playing it by myself for a long time because I couldn't speak enough English to interact with people in a meaningful way, but that was fine.
Oh wow, I would have never imagined that she was at that point at any point. I couldn't even tell that she's not a native, and she definitely sounds like she speaks very good English.
However, when I finally got to embrace the social element of the game to its full capacity, I realized that when I didn't have it, I really missed it. But as more time passed and I still had the craving to continue playing WoW just because I really love the world and I find comfort in going back to it, I realized that World of Warcraft is perfectly fine as a solo experience. In fact, I think it lets you view the world from a different perspective and arguably even enjoy your time there a lot more. A lot of people don't really like World of Warcraft because of its grindy element. You could say that all the quests are exactly the same. You either have to gather X amount of this thing or slay Y amount of that thing, deliver something, speak to someone, a constant back and forth involving a lot of running around at a moderately slow pace until you reach level 40, and then at a slightly quicker pace, if you're able to afford it, that is. I think that every quest being the same, more or less, makes it kind of therapeutic. You don't really have to think too much about what you're doing. You can just go on autopilot and fully immerse yourself in the forests, mountains, valleys, and plains of Azeroth. There's no pressure to keep up with.
For a player, I agree. For a player and as a player, I think that she's right and she has a good point. But for a content creator, sometimes it gets difficult. For example, I recorded my entire The War Within playthrough just recently here on the channel, and it's kind of hard to find ways to be entertaining during the quests that actually do feel the same. So apart from reading or talking to NPCs and listening to them, sometimes you just have to power through these sessions where there's a lot of combat and not a lot of things to talk about, and that's where you get to shine as a content creator. Or you realize that you're just sat there fully uncomfortable while you're pushing through 10 packs of NPCs that you need to kill for X or Y amount of things to continue with the story and the recording.
Anyone or anything, the world moves around you, but you have your own path ahead that will take you where you want to go in your own time. Though this was always a possibility, I only really started to view the world that way after playing Classic in Hardcore. I started this experience myself before the official Hardcore servers launched by using the add-on. This was a third-party add-on created specifically for players who wanted to experience the game this way, and some even say that this was better than the actual Hardcore servers, but I'll mention more on that later. The add-on had its own community website, and there you could see the rules that you needed to follow in order for it to be an authentic Hardcore experience. The rules included things like no auction house, no player-to-player mail or trading. You could only run each dungeon once per character. But the biggest thing for me was the rule about no grouping, unless you're going to a dungeon. I couldn't understand how people managed without grouping, especially in a death delete scenario. Though it's intimidating, once you get started, you realize that this is actually one of the best ways to enjoy the game, especially now, so many years later, when the classic experience has actually started to get a bit stale for people. Unless you're playing on Turtle WoW, those guys never seem to complain about anything. But you do start to look at the world in a completely different way. World of Warcraft being a social game, no grouping was completely unfathomable to me, and And yet, it's 100% possible and in a lot of ways, more fun. First of all, no grouping in a hardcore scenario leaves you in a state where the only person you can rely on is yourself. There's no LFM Hogger, no anyone for Tharl Zun, and certainly no LFG Fenris Isle. This, especially in a hardcore scenario, forces you to get really good at your class. Really try and learn how to get the most out of your abilities at any given level, maybe even consider professions to get you through, since you can't use the auction house or trade with other people, so you have to do everything by yourself. In group scenarios, I feel like very often, particularly DPS classes, can get away with doing the bare minimum. If you're someone like a hunter or a mage, you don't really have to do a whole lot and you're still able to top DPS meters easily. There's no real need for you to get good at your class, you can rely on other people, and you probably don't even need to fully understand what you're doing at all, and nobody would even notice. When you're alone and you're facing a camp of gnolls or maybe an elite mob for a quest, you have to start using a lot more of your brain to figure out how to defeat the mobs and get out of there alive. You have to exhaust all your resources, plan ahead, and really survive. You need to be making decisions all the time.
I like the
Is
editing.
that quest that's
Really
in the cave
good.
really worth it, or are you going to get whooped when too many mobs respawn at the same time and find you frolicking about? It's all on you, and there are real stakes, because if you make a mistake, you will lose your character right.
See, I didn't know about the hardcore add-on, and this has me curious about how it works. Like, is there like some sort of a leaderboard, or is some sort of a tracker or something? How does the community know if you're the one following the rules or not? It's actually really curious.
Right there in that stupid cave. This kind of self-reliance really makes you appreciate playing solo. You're responsible for you. Nobody's holding you back, and you're also able to play the game at your own pace. One thought that I had about playing solo is that you're straight up unable to do certain quests. For example, if you're leveling in Redridge, there are several elite quests there that are kind of a big deal in terms of experience that you get there, and you really need like a dungeon-sized group to get through those. It's true that some scenarios are best avoided when you're by yourself, so you instead get to experience more of the world. Typically, when you're leveling, you have sort of a choice in terms of the zones that you're going to cover in any particular level bracket. Like, you can choose between Westfall, Darkshore, or Loch Modan, or if you're Horde, you might be looking at the Barrens or Silverpine Forest. When you're by yourself, especially in hardcore, you might actually opt to do all of the zones. For example, when you're questing in Westfall, starting at say level 11, you eventually get to a point when you feel a little underleveled, as the quests that you're doing at level 15 are in areas where a bunch of level 18 mobs are walking around. That might not be a huge difference, but in a hardcore scenario, if you have that level 18 and any other mob attacking you at the same time, you might be
You're
cooked.
dead, yeah.
So you take a step back, travel to Darkshore, take the quests that are available there for level 11 onwards, and with the XP you gather, you're then able to return to Westfall and pick up where you left off. I feel like this makes leveling more of a journey and more of an adventure. You're covering more ground within a particular level bracket. If you're taking advantage of any XP that you can get more or less safely, you might also discover quests in areas of the game that you would have otherwise ignored because you leveled too quickly for them. One such example for me was a quest that you can get between the wetlands and the Arathi Highlands. I always skipped this quest because it was on like a broken off part of the bridge that's really hard to get to. You have to do like really weird parkour to get to it. It had an unusually high amount of XP for it being just a speak to this other NPC in this safe location quest, so I was determined to get it. I was at a bit of a standstill in hardcore in terms of safe quests that I could do without dying, so it was a decent option. Not without its risks, however. The first time I tried it, I nearly had a heart attack. Fell all the way down, but I realized it's more or less safe. You don't die, you end up in water. If you fall right, there is a bit of a platform just before the water that you can land on. Now, I was doing this for a very long time because when you fell into the water, you also had to swim up and go all the way around up the mountain and through a dark iron dwarf camp. So again, it wasn't the safest. It was okay, it was manageable. I eventually did succeed. As you can see, it was quite exciting. I don't remember the last time I was this excited about WoW in a group setting, so for me,
I love
this
how
sort
her
of
camera shook as well.
hardcore gameplay really revived the game. I was really happy. And in general, getting things done yourself and not dying in the process was a new kind of rewarding and special. Something that, no matter how many friends I played with, I just hadn't experienced in WoW for a long time. This was my experience with the add-on. They of course did later release the official hardcore servers, and those those didn't restrict player-to-player mail, the auction house, trading, or grouping. I think that this diminished the hardcore experience. It was definitely more hardcore if you were following the add-on. Blizzard seemed to kind of embrace this solo player initiative by adding something called the self-found mode. This did restrict the auction house, mail, and trading, but it didn't restrict grouping, which is why I also personally think that the add-on and the rules that they had there were superior. Just if we're speaking of a more hardcore experience. And this has been my experience as a solo player. Maybe if you're someone like me and you've been playing the game for years, since childhood, as an adult, you'll enjoy the solo experience a lot more. It's sad to think about all the people that you used to hang out with in game that just logged out one day and never came back. But it's nice to remember all the good times with guildmates and just other people you meet in the world and had all these fun interactions with. WoW has always been a social game, but I feel like modern advances in social media and how accessible communication is now really changes the way we interact with people in game. I think that now we are oversaturated with all the different ways in which we can communicate, and I find that even if you look for interaction in WoW these days, people are a lot less responsive and tend to stick to themselves anyway. So becoming a solo player may not have even been a you thing, it's just the landscape isn't the same anymore. But hopefully after this video you can see that it's still possible to get enjoyment out of WoW, just in a different capacity. Also, there's nothing wrong with spending time on your own and learning how to enjoy things for yourself and by yourself. I feel like if you learn to enjoy doing some things alone, in the long run, you'll be able to build more meaningful friendships and relationships in the game and in the real world. After all, if you don't like spending time with yourself, why would anyone else enjoy your company? And that about covers it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, as always, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Big shout out to my channel members. You guys are great. Thank you so much. And I'll see you all in the next video. Be seeing you. Bye.
So I do have a few things to say. First of all, I think it was a really good video, and I think that even though it didn't really give a lot of information on what kind of experience she had, apart from that one, example where she did a quest that she thought she couldn't. I think that she's woken up a lot of people to the fact that this is possible and that this is turning into essentially a player mode that is just another player mode next to role-playing or raiding or PvP or this or that. And I think that as a generation, whether you are a Gen Z or millennial, probably if you're playing World of Warcraft, I feel like we're going through this era of a little bit of selfishness, and we tend to stick to ourselves anyway. And you can see that even when you queue into a dungeon, that sometimes if a person wants to only kill one boss, sometimes people will leave the group after killing one boss because the other bosses are a waste of their time or whatever. And I feel like this toxic mindset has been detrimental to experiences in MMORPGs, because most people just want to get on with what they're trying to get on with because they don't have enough time, because they have goals and this and that. And I think that this is all a consequence of how much faster life has gotten lately. So that's why I feel like genuine friendships made in MMORPGs nowadays are quite rare, where people befriend each other and they just go through content and just chill, just, maybe they don't end up doing much, but they're spending time together, they're exploring the world, and it's not always about the progression or how many quests they got to do or all the chores on a weekly basis that they have to finish with so that they can go into dungeons or raiding or this or that. So in a way, I did find the video relatable. I think she's done a very good job. She's very wholesome, and the way she spoke about the game that she cares deeply about, I think resonates with a lot of people as well. It was a good watch. Let me know in the comments how you felt about it. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and leave a like on the video. And please make sure to go to the original video as well and leave a like on it. Watch it if you want to. I'll leave the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and bye bye.